some speed for tomorrow.
And on Sunday, you said that you'd probably listen to Denny. Denny would probably say something on the podcast that would make you angry, more angry on Monday night. I'm curious if he said anything on Monday that made you kind of even more angry than you were.
Yeah, I think he said a handful of things that maybe even more frustrated throughout the week than maybe I even was after the race. But yeah, we're just try to forget about all that and go race this weekend and see if we can get a good run.
When you watched replays and whatnot and had some time to think about it, did you change any of your thoughts, or are you still where you were at as you move on? And, you know, there's been a lot of talk about it, so you had a chance to, since you talked outside your car, you had a chance to, you know, watch and think about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I did all my interviews before I saw replay, and I knew exactly what happened. And after watching replays, pretty much confirmed what had happened. So, yeah, so my opinion on the on-track stuff has not changed.
How would you characterize Denny said you guys talked, so how would you characterize that? And can you give us any insight into what you talked about?
Yeah, no, it was brief and fine. You just texted a little bit late last night. He wanted to meet up. I just didn't really feel like there was a reason to meet up, because, you know, we were just going to agree to disagree and probably get more frustrated with him, and then, you know, I'm sure vice versa, he'd probably be frustrated with me afterwards. So I thought just the brief texts that we had were good, and ultimately I think it was probably the best.
Do you think you need some more time? Just let this kind of roll down and let everybody settle just a little bit?
I get over things pretty quickly, so I'm sure I'll get over this, you know, over time.
When are you going golfing next?
It's a little bit hot right now, so I don't really feel like golfing right now.
Yeah.
Denny said earlier that he thinks the point system kind of promotes that kind of aggression. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think I would agree with that, and I think it also, you know, makes the guys on the receiving end more mad as well, just because of what's at stake and what's taken.
If roles were reversed last Sunday, how would turn one have looked differently?
Well, I think you could look at the 4 or 5 restarts I had with the 8 at Gateway, and you know, you could see kind of how, if roles were reversed, how I would have played it out probably at Pocono. But I think if roles were reversed going forward, it'd probably look a little different.
Because it's Denny, or does it matter? Or are the rules just different now?
I respect you know, Kyle, and that's why I raced him with respect at Gateway, and I respect Denny every bit as much, if not more, or I did. So I don't think I would have raced any differently than I did at Gateway.
How many times is it going to take getting run over before, you know, you adopt a more aggressive style? Because that's what Denny said he had to do. He had to adopt a more aggressive style because he was getting run over.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I am aggressive already, but I try to race with respect. And don't get me wrong, I know I've made my mistakes and have ran people in the wall or you know, made my fair share of things. But yeah, I think ultimately it gets, you know, over time. You know, I've been in the Cup Series for 9 or 10 years, and yeah, I don't know. In the racing's different now. The cars are different now, so yeah, you have to adapt.
You worry about stuff like this, like you're such a chill guy, you're doing so much racing, but it is a serious thing. You know, you didn't want to meet up with Denny yet, but do you feel like you think about it and, you know, agonize over it or think about it? There's so much conversation there. Are you able to just kind of blow it off, or not this time?
No, I mean, and I think you guys would all agree, I tend to blow things over quickly. I think you guys would love to get more out of me a lot of times. So I feel like I do a good job of that most times. And I think this time I probably have let it, you know, linger just on my attitude a little bit this week, just because, you know, it's happened more often with him than any other driver in my career. And, you know, and then, you know, a win was taken. So I think that also makes you frustrated.
You think maybe you know, just not going to take it anymore in general, that you need to stand up more?
I don't know. I think you can't ever predict, you know, how things play out, but I know what to expect or whatever racing around him, and I hope he can expect the same in return.
Can you give us like anything that he said on Monday that made you want to? Okay, all right. But I have a question too. Like here, we'll probably see like a bump. Couldn't see a bump and run for the win, and if we see that, most people are like, well, you know, that's the way you have to win them. But I'm curious, is what we saw last week like a bump and run, just on a bigger track, or is there something different about what happened last week?
Well, I think, I don't know. I didn't have an option. Like I did lift. You know, I still hit the wall. So I think if if I don't know, it's hard to say. I haven't gotten moved, I guess, like bump and run for a win. So I don't know how I would react to that, but yeah, I feel like I just didn't have an option last week, so that's what it made me most upset.
Have you been frustrated like that in other series? You race sprint car, or whatever? Or is this the first time you've kind of felt this way? Like you said, things don't usually bother you.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of a time in a sprint car race where, I was put in the fence while racing for the lead late in the race. So I don't know. I don't know. But I think things like that happen a lot less just because it's open wheel and you've got a chance of crashing yourself every bit as crashing the guy outside of you. So I don't. Yes, you see it happen here and there, but rarely do you see it much. So I can't remember a time being mad like that.
When you grow up in those style cars, there is no margin for error. You can't, hit fenders because, as you said, you're going to take yourself out or the other guy out. Is it harder to, with these cars being like bulletproof, like you're driving tanks out there? I mean, does it just kind of incite this?
I'm not sure. I think dirt racers grow up, they establish a certain style for how they race people, and guys who grow up racing with fenders also grow up, and adapted a style and how they race people. I'm not saying anything, about, guys who race stock cars or dirty or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, you're more prone to, or I guess more comfortable with the bump and runs or with, squeezing people and stuff like that, where I think, and then on the flip side of that, you've seen the style of racing in Cup change, since guys like myself have come in and the infamous or famous slide job and all that. Like the style of racing is different, and it always changes as younger people come up, based off their background. And I don't really know if that answers your question or anything. I feel like I'm kind of rambling on with this answer, but I don't know. It's just racing, and how, I think how you adopt your morals when you grow up.
Kyle, has it changed with this car? Like a number of guys have come through here today and said the next gen, you can do this with the side draft versus Gen 6, Yeah, I mean, you couldn't, the outside guy in that instance with the old car wasn't affected. I think, exactly what I did to Bubba was, I got in there, got, chasing up the track, and ultimately packed air on his left side and ran him into the wall. So, yes, it's a thing. For sure, you've seen it with others, and Denny's done it a number of times. So he's really good at it, and I don't think, just as Bubba was mad when he wrecked me after I put him in the fence, like it's not something you should be like, it's just part of it. That's just racing. I left you lane. It's not. It's really less than a lane because you've got the air that's just shoving your car right, and I would say Pocono wasn't even really the air. I didn't really feel the air. Like he ran into me before I got to the exit, and I had no option but to hit the wall. Like I had no angle left for the corner. So the air there was way less of a factor, where when I ran Bubba the wall, that was all air. Like we never touched on that, but I ran him into the wall with my air. Denny's ran William into the wall at Texas, which William got mad and retaliated under yellow. Ran Chase into the wall at Charlotte, and he got mad and retaliated. So, yeah, it's just, yes, it's a product of the cars and the aerodynamics, but I would say that it should be accepted. I think it's you don't have to touch somebody, which I did get hit, but you don't have to touch somebody to wreck somebody. Have you been less likely or less inclined to do it since Bubba, or have you done it since Bubba?
I can't recall me like running someone in the wall doing it, but sure, I mean, you can use it to your advantage to at least get somebody tight to where they have to lift off the throttle on exit to, kill their run and then be able to side draft them down the straightaway. So I think that's something that we all use most weekends. Richmond, like the slower tracks, it doesn't work, but intermediates and stuff, yeah, you can use it to your advantage. I try not to, since Bubba, run people in the wall. Not that I was trying to run him into the wall then either, but try and be a little bit more
cautious and aware of where I'm positioned, where they're positioned to the wall.
You have not spoken up like you spoke up after the race by your car last week. I kind of liked it. I thought, you've earned your place. This is something you felt strongly about, right? Do you feel comfortable with your place of saying, hey, I don't like this?
Well, I think in my career I've always been really fair as far as how I handle things where I've gotten the short end of the stick, and even when times where I've put people in a bad spot or wrecked them. I think there's so many times I can think of in my career where it's like somebody wrongs me and everybody else around me says, you need to do this, or you shouldn't be their friend, you shouldn't do this, and I'm always like, but I can always look at like, well, what did I do to put myself in that position to ultimately get crashed or spun or whatever, and I just can't really see with this one what I did wrong to deserve to get run in the fence. So that's where I'm upset, and that's where I feel strongly about how I handled it and all that. So I think I'm a very fair person. Yes, I've made my mistakes, but like when I ran Bubba in the fence and he retaliated, I said he had every right to be mad at me. I even told NASCAR, please don't suspend him, because I caused that. So I think I'm fair with how I respond to things most times.
As
So
fast
having
as you're
said all that, were you genuinely surprised at the way that went down, and did you expect that it was going to involve
Well,
what it did?
I would say I wasn't surprised, because he made the exact same move work last year with Ross, a driver who he does not respect, who he shouldn't respect, at least in that point, that back then. So I knew the opportunity was there for him to pull that move. I was more concerned about it the restart before we restart my inside, but even when I got the good push on the front stretch, I was knowing or thinking that if he gets inside, he's probably just gonna do what he did last year, because it worked. So but I was hoping, I guess, maybe because of all the times he's wrecked me in our friendship off track, he'd maybe have a little bit more respect for me on the track, but then he pulled the same exact move. So I guess whatever.
as
Is
fast
this
as
the
you're
maddest you've been after a race? Because you are pretty.
I wouldn't say it's the maddest I've
chill.
been. No,
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's the maddest I've been. I think I've thought about it longer than other incidents. So there's that. But I wouldn't say it's the maddest I've been. But I can't honestly think of off the top of my head like what's the number one maddest moment I've been. Usually it's mad at myself.